channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Twee, and look, we have two special guests.
Hey guys, it's Hong here, the regular guest that's always appearing.
We also have my boyfriend Quang. He's in another video, guys. It's your lucky day.
It's been a long time since we've done a video together, guys.
Oh my God,
so the last time we did was like a challenge video.
Oh my God, yeah. We need to bring back more of them. Who wants to see more challenge videos? If you guys haven't seen my last video, we spoke all about the house buying process step by step. And this video, we're going to be diving into your juicy questions. So I asked you guys on Instagram, also on my home account, xtweelyhome. Make sure you give me a little follow. Okay, support your girl down below in the description. My sister is also a homeowner.
I feel very fortunate that I have my own home and a place that I can reside every night.
I think it'll be really interesting to see how the house buying process was like 10 years ago versus now. And also you got to see my process as well. So we get to see your perspective.
Times have changed. Most of the stages are pretty similar, I would say.
So she's going to be telling you guys her experience, what it was like buying back in the days. She's also better at finances and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of like your field, I feel like.
Apparently so. That's my career profession, apparently, on paper.
So hopefully in this video, we're going to answer all you guys' juicy questions. I talk more about like our actual experience about this house, because the other one was just about the process. This one is going to be more nitty gritty. Okay, so if you guys want to know a bit more about our exact house buying process, please keep watching.
Rolling the intro.
I feel like this video would be really, really helpful because my sister went through the whole process 10 years ago and I just went through the process. So she can tell me what it's like to own a house years later, you know?
I think one of the main perks is getting in there early, because there's always gonna be like a house boom. So your house will go up in value, and now I'm just getting all the rewards. I feel so much more better and so much more rewarded when I know that my house has gone up in value, and I'm like, bitch, I can actually sell my home, get another smaller place and be mortgage free. That is the perk of investing a long time ago. A lot of people are concerned about buying their home. They think it's too late. Whenever you're ready, go onto the property ladder. It's always worth the investment. Not only do you have yourself an asset, but also the house prices are likely to go up. The population is always going to increase. There's always going to be a demand for it. If there is a stage where the house prices start going down, there'll be a demand for it regarding to people wanting to rent a place. So you will always make income regardless.
Okay, so the first question was, what was the hardest part about the house buying process?
For me, was getting my finances in order, because there's a lot of money involved, deposit, everything, and also deciding on the home. This is going to be a long-term investment. And I was like, do I actually want to put all this money into this big, massive investment?
I would say the hardest part was deposit too.
The deposit is a hard thing. All the years that you have saved that money away, and now you're putting it into this big asset, and you're never going to see that money again until you sell it.
For me, the most stressful part was actually finding the house. I honestly thought, like, okay, I'm saving up money. I've been saving for years. I've been saving since I was 18 years old. I've always saved for a rainy day. That's always been like my mentality. I've never lived beyond my means. So when I thought, okay, I've got the money now, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go out and find like probably 10 houses. It's gonna be so hard to pick what house, but that was literally the opposite. When I started to look at houses, I was like, this crusty house, and you're asking for that price? Are you joking? And that's when you really realise like how much house prices are, because there's some shitholes in such horrible locations and they're still worth like 500k, £500,000. It's crazy.
But I also feel that if you take a twist on that, that people have different perspectives, because what you find and your standards are a bit high. If I was to buy a property now, I would want an older property so that I can put my stamp on it. The process of doing it up and everything is so rewarding and everything as well, where your mentality is you want to live in a brand new house, everything's done for you. There's investments in other ways. It depends on what you're looking for. For me, I want to find a cheaper home which I can put money in, which is a lower amount of money, and make that house go up in value.
I do have to say the whole process of looking at houses, getting excited, getting your offer rejected, all that up and down emotions, it was so draining.
That was a long process as well. That was a headache. Deposit and looking for houses was two hardest parts in buying a house.
I'm really surprised at your process in getting the house and going through the solicitor was such a short process, because a lot of people complain to say that the process normally takes 6 months or maybe more.
The next question is, how did you decide on the location? I've lived in London my whole life and I can't imagine living anywhere else. Gal, I feel you on that one. I literally was in the exact same position. I've lived in my council estate home for 28 years of my life, you know. I didn't know any different. I just knew, okay, just by looking on Zoopla, that I can't afford the house that I want in London. We thought I would move over to my sister's area, and that was expensive already. But I found in my sister's area, a lot of the houses were a lot older. They didn't have a lot of new builds. A lot of houses would need like a full renovation, which I didn't want to go through. I wanted something to just move straight into and start creating content already.
With my location, what you wanted, the price would be so extortionate. They have beautiful houses there. Don't downgrade my area.
She has nice houses, but they're all like over $1 million.
But you know what they always say, location, location. So you do have to make a compromise. But I feel that the dynamic of today's world is slowly changing. People are shifting, moving outside of London because you get more for your money. And also the commute, the train journey, I think is so much more efficient. I think with this pandemic, it has really make people evaluate how they work and everything. Because you always thought that you had to physically be in an office. Now, this has completely changed the field, and it gives you so many more options to be able to live outside of London and also be able to work from home and that freedom. So now I feel that prices outside of London is going to go up because there's going to be a higher demand. I feel that it's also really important that you do research on the location, but there are properties where it is given to the council and they rent it out. Those areas are cheaper, but their crime rates may be high. It's all down to the neighbourhood, and if people are not taking care of the neighbourhood and people are from like council estates and everything, they won't see it as their home. When you are an actual home buyer, you look at it from a completely different aspect. You take care of the property, you look around your neighbourhood. When someone is not doing their part to contribute to the community, you feel like, what's up, man?
And also your location will also vary on the time of your life that you're buying. So if you've got kids, you might be looking at what schools are around, if they had good Ofsted reports, if there's grammar schools around. Your criteria will be completely different depending on where you are in your life. If you are quite a social person, you'd probably want to be like near a train station, you probably want to be like close to a lot of things. Whereas if you want to live a more quiet life, you might want to go more into the countryside.
I feel that with Twee's criteria and what she needed, somewhere that's outside of London, which is still within her price range, but also the commute to London is still within reasonable distance. So it's like under an hour journey into London. Anything further than that, you may have to like think, is it worth the journey or not? So those are the things you weigh up. Is it going to cost you more money to travel and commute into London, but you get a bigger house, or do you want to be closer but you get a smaller property?
Finding the location is probably the hardest because we looked at so many different areas and we were so open into what areas as well. There was no specific area we wanted to go to. We just knew we wanted to be kind of close to my sister and also be close to my family at home. How much do you think you should save for a deposit, and what is the excess cost?
Regarding to deposit, it depends. I mean, normally the standard cost now, they would expect you around about 10 to 20% deposit. So whatever the value of your house is, you need to save a minimum of 10%.
Because of the pandemic, it's been really hard to get a 10% mortgage now.
The higher the deposit that you have, the more chances you will be eligible for a mortgage. Firstly, you need to ensure that you have your deposit saved. Then you need to do your surveyor cost, which is basically evaluating the house to see the house is worth what you're paying for. There's also costs regarding to like bank fees that you have, your solicitor's fee, and then your stamp duty, which you have to pay at the end when you're exchanging the property.
And there's also home insurance as well. And then also you need to make sure you have money set aside for any furniture or any bills, and make sure you're able to pay your first mortgage.
If there's any damages to the property, you need to ensure you have that additional money to fix anything that's inside the house to make it become livable. I had to have additional like 20,000 for furniture and doing the house and painting and everything as well. Unless you're moving from another home where you've got furniture already. Yeah. I came from a background where I literally had no furniture. I moved from my mom's house, so I had to do the big initial shop, which is basically everything. And all the little things that you think doesn't cost anything, like dishes and plates, like mops and everything, they all add up. It's like pretty penny.
But even like just the Hoover, that's like minimum £200, you know?
I know, but there are tips and tricks like second-hand stuff from Facebook where you can get it for a fraction of the cost. There's always ways of saving money. Like what my brother did is he's moving back into his home. He's going to buy display goods, which is just as good. And there's shops that are closing down, especially with the pandemic that's happening at the moment. So people are closing down, so they're selling stuff at a cheaper rate. So just shop around and bargain around. I'm sure you'll be able to find something that's cheap and affordable.
What is the most surprising part of buying a house? Anything unexpected happen?
Her internet.
Yeah. I thought I'd be able to get internet so quickly, but apparently it's going to take up to 3 months. There was one point where we thought we wasn't going to able to get our mortgage, and that was the most saddest feeling ever. When someone actually looks at your finances and says there's a chance you might not be able to, the feeling where your heart drops is just so sad. It's like you finally found the home that you were looking for. You have to scramble and try to get all your ducks in a row, and yeah, that was a really, really scary experience. But luckily we had a good team and our accountant vouched for us.
The cost of furnishing everything.
Yeah, that was so expensive. I budgeted something that I thought was quite fair, and it just went like this.
Most people buying sofas that is like 1,000 or like 1,500. You're spending like a good penny for that, so you would expect that to go up the
TV
roof.
that's sitting right there in the corner.
The surprising thing for me when I bought a new home was my address not being on the navigation for a good month.
Oh really? That is annoying.
Her address is still not on the navigation.
Also, something that I found was quite surprising was just the little fees of everything. Like every single time you wake up, you flick a switch of electricity. That's you wasting money, basically. And before, when I was at my mum's, I was just using any kind of water. I was like, yeah, leave the water running while I'm brushing my teeth and stuff. And now I'm definitely more conscious of it. Like now, before I go downstairs, I'll make sure all the switches are turned off.
Having said that, I just went upstairs. Your light, both rooms were on. I had to switch it off.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I feel that when you live in your own home, you're more conscious of being energy efficient as well, because you don't want the money to come up. And there's so many bills that I didn't realise I had to pay for, like council tax. I was looking at my council tax today, it was £2,000. I'm like, what the hell? My mum's place was like 1,300 compared to here.
We haven't even got our council tax banding yet from the government, so we're still waiting for the official letter.
You're gonna be in for a
I know it's
surprise,
gonna be
girl.
expensive though, Jesus. How much did the price affect where you chose to buy? I would probably say the thing that restricted me the most was the actual house. I wanted a very specific, nice house, and a lot of houses that I saw, it just didn't meet the mark for me. There was always renovations that I had to do, which I didn't like.
Also, another key thing moving further out of London is the requirement for you to have a car. Everything's not just easily accessible, like round the doorstep. Because I remember when I lived in London, public transport was so much more easier to commute. Yeah. It may be a long journey in London because of the traffic, but here the journey is the same amount of time, but the distance is a lot further. So you definitely need a vehicle to be able to commute everywhere.
Somebody questioned about how much their damn house is, guys. The house is expensive. Okay, let me just say it was the top end of my budget.
At first it was this amount, and then oh yeah, let me put a bit more.
What are the questions you asked when you did house viewings?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I am the queen of questions. So me and Gran had this system where I would ask all the questions and then Gran will have like a notes. When you're viewing like 5 properties, you're gonna fucking forget what they say. So when you have everything down on notes, we can compare.
We had 101 questions.
Question I would ask is, where's the closest train station? How long is the commute to London? What are the schools like around here as well? Is there a primary school nearby? Can you walk to a shop? Where's the local supermarket? What is the service fees for around here? Because some places there's a service fee that you have to maintain the area. My one doesn't, but yours does.
Part of my property, as part of the contract, it stipulates that even though I've got a house, normally you only have to pay a service fee when you are living in an apartment or like flats and everything. But in my one, it's like a proper house and it's like a private estate, and you have to contribute towards the whole community, the electricity, the parking, cutting the bushes outside. I'm like, that's not my fucking bush.
Yeah.
I still have to pay for that.
We also asked what is the council tax band, what is the EPC rating as well, because we wanted something quite energy efficient. How many people can park in front, and if there's only a space for 1 or 2, where's the next like free parking? Like what do you do when people come round and come visit?
What's the nearest McDonald's?
Yeah.
And also a important question is asking, is there any issues with the house? Be specific and ask them so they can be upfront with you, because they might just not disclose this information on the advert. I find that it's really important that when you go into view a property, you have a set of questions lined out so that you have a benchmark when you're comparing all the houses, and then it allows you to have a comparable when you're looking at all the different houses when you're shortlisting it.
What is the best way to start saving for a house?
I would say start the earlier the better. Whatever you're earning, save a proportion aside, and then slowly that amount will build up. If you're saving this amount each month, how much it would equal to a year, and then times it by how long it would take you to get that deposit on the property that you're looking for.
There's also another scheme where the government was was offering like a lifetime ISA, and you put in a certain amount of money, and then the government also matches that as well, and that helps towards your deposit as well for first-time buyers. So there's also government schemes that you can look at. Because I was living at home, I was able to save a lot more. Maybe you might need to move in with a family member for a little while, you know?
Yeah, because one of my girlfriends, she was like, I want to be independent, I want to live alone. I said to her, do you know what? You just have to put up with it and live with your mum for a certain amount of period. Just think of it as a short-term arrangement. You are investing in your future, and it is so much more worthwhile. Because you're saving on so much money by sharing the cost of rent and the living expenses and everything as well.
Yeah, even if you have to get like a housemate or something like that just to live with, so you'll be able to split the bills, and then you'll be able to save more money away. Maybe you might need to pick up an extra job or a side little hustle, and that would also help you save up. I feel like for me personally, gone are the days where you just focus on one income. You need to have multiple streams of income to be able to get the house that you want, because houses are expensive. It's like thousands. It's not even like 1,000 or 2,000. It's like the tens of thousands. So I think even just like a regular person, you need to have like £60,000 just to purchase a property, which is so crazy, you know?
Yeah, and then also it depends on what type of property you're buying, because there are government schemes where they do a help to buy scheme. Now you need to weigh up the pros and cons regarding to that, because when you're buying, say, like a freehold property, that property belongs to you at the end of the day. So you have the overall say in what you want to do with the property. If you want to sell it later down the line, that is your decision. If you go into a scheme where the government's offering you help, they own a certain percentage of the property. So whenever you're going to sell, you have to ask those questions with the council as well. Sometimes it doesn't work out to be the most cost effective. So you really need to do your research before you make a decision to make such a huge binding contract. The government is not giving you anything for free.
There's got to be sacrifices to buy a house. As much as you like a new car, a new handbag, you're not going to save buying a new designer bag every week.
You need to like definitely budget, and you know, you're not going to be budgeting for the rest of your life. You know, once you got the house, then you can buy all your bags that you want and stuff. Then there is sacrifices. Maybe you're not going to be going out drinking every single weekend anymore. You know, you're going to cut it down to like once a month or something. So there is sacrifice, but just know that there's a goal in the end, and that goal is going to be so worth it when you get your own place. You know?
I find it really helpful for me for budgeting side of things is like have an app and also review how much money you have in the bank, what's your expenses, what's your expenditure, what's your income, and make sure that you're spending below your cost of living.
Someone actually did ask, did we get a 25-year mortgage or 35-year mortgage?
We got a 35-year mortgage.
Because we wanted less monthly repayments. Obviously, the longer the mortgage is, the less you have to pay.
Yeah. And I also feel that people have to get out of this mindset where they want to be mortgage free, because you have to think about good debt and bad debt. This is a good investment. Now, the thing is, the more you pay off this property, you can never get that money out again. So you are putting all your hard-earned cash here. It's a physical asset. You can only get that money when you refinance or in the scenario where you're selling off the home. So I would say, instead of putting all that money into this property, maybe use that money to invest elsewhere. So when you have like two properties, rather than just investing all that and paying that all in one property.
What do you think is better, settle for a fixer-upper or a new house? I think there's definitely pros and cons to both.
One of the main concerns that people have is living in the property while you're doing it up. I had a girlfriend that had a whole new section to her home, and she'd done her loft conversion and everything while she's still living in the property, and she said that was such a headache, and that's one thing that she regret doing. You can imagine like having kids and all this construction behind you.
Dust, dirt everywhere. For my first house, I wanted something new, something fresh, something that I can just walk in and just feel like so happy. I didn't want the headache. I feel like now that we have this place, I feel like, okay, I've lived that new build life now. For my next house, that's probably going to be like my forever ever home. I don't think this is my forever home, if I'm completely honest. I think like 10 years down the line, I would love to build my dream home.
But people normally start off small. She started off big, okay?
Yeah.
Start off small and then slowly get bigger.
A fixer-upper is always the smarter investment. If you've got the extra cash, or you don't mind fixing it up slowly, that is always the smarter way to do things. Like new builds are always coming at a premium, and if I was ever going to buy like an investment property to rent out, I'll never buy a new build. But because we're actually living here, it's an okay investment. Even though it was an expensive house, I do feel like I would never have a problem if I do need to sell it, because it's such a nice house and it's such an amazing location.
So I bought my house when it was a new build, and I bought it at the top when premium house prices were going up. I bought this in 2007. So this was a brand new home. House prices were booming. And then basically a recession happened in 2008, and that's where the housing market completely crashed. And within a year, my house went way down by at least like 70 to 80k. And if I sell it, I'll lose all my deposit and lose so much money. How to increase the value in your home is to wait long term. Because if at that moment in time, if I was to rush and I panicked and I sold it, I would have lost my money. But now, waited 10 years later, my house has gone back up in value. It's gone back to where it was and more in value as well. Think of the long term. Don't think of the short term.
Also, actually, a little tip that I can give you guys is when you're looking for a new build, look for a new build where you can actually add value as well. Because a lot of new builds, when you look at them, they already spec'd it all out already. With our house, we can still add a whole nother third floor. If we did do that, that would add the property value up, which a lot of new builds you couldn't.
Don't think of like the materialistic things, because that is only things that will make the house look pretty. Say if you got the Marcel oven cooker, that ain't gonna add value to the house. That's just for looks. Yeah.
Marcel.
So your first experience when you offered the house, this guy, he spec'd out his house, he bought the top bathtub and everything, but then it's just another bathtub. It's not gonna add any more value.
Yeah. Those would just make the house maybe sell faster, but it won't actually add value, you know?
What's gonna add value is like more extra rooms inside the house, create extensions, you're creating more space. Those things are gonna add value.
Another reason why we didn't get a fixer upper, because we record content, so we didn't want to live on a building site where it's got noise.
Do you believe in feng shui?
There was a house that I liked, but door number was number 4, and my whole family was like, oh my god, it's door number 4. For me, if I really liked the house, it wouldn't put me off it, but it is a little niggling thought in my mind, you know?
One thought that crossed my mind since one of my girlfriends mentioned to me, she said that my house, if you come in and you have 3 doors like aligning each other, that means your money just comes in and flow out. And then I'm looking at Twee's house, she's got the same scenario.
I know. Someone actually said that in my comment section, because you know when I first said I love that you can see straight through to the garden, someone was like, that's bad feng shui, but we have 2 double doors, bitch. We're blocking that bad money going out, okay?
And that's one thing that I loved about my house. When I look through the front door, I can see straight to the garden. It just brings in so much light.
What would you do differently?
What I would do differently at my house is get an end terrace rather than a freaking mid terrace. Because I was like walking in my hallway and I'm like, there's no window in my bathroom. There's no window up my stairs. It's dark and dingy. And it makes me feel so suffocated. Hey.
This is why you get a detached house.
I don't have the budget for that. One of my regrets back in the day was there was another house that I looked at 6 months before I bought my house, and it was like a townhouse. So there's 3 floors and it was like 5 bedrooms. That was only around about 50,000 more than what my house is. However, at that time, when you think of that lump sum of money, it was such a big amount. But when you think about it, if say I pay a 15% of 15,000, that's like maybe additional 10,000, which I could have just asked and borrowed a bit more. I could have got a bigger house and it would have been a better investment. When you go into it, you feel so scared and you think like, oh, I can't afford it. You do have to take that leap of life and have faith. And I'm sure that house is worth a lot of money now. Yeah, that's one of my biggest regrets. There's a detached house that was just round the corner and that was like 100k more, and I would only have to add in another 15k to be able to get that house, and I would have had a massive detached house. Now that house is worth like 700k, and at the time it's worth like nearly 500, so it's gone up in 200k in value.
Things I wish I would have done differently is 100% negotiate more. I feel like when I negotiated for this house, I asked for the bare minimum. I definitely could have asked for more. I was being too scared. I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. I didn't want to lose the house. But I feel like I would have got away with more. Especially when we first put in our offer, I was actually surprised that they would actually go down, because I thought, oh, new builds, you know, they're just going to stick at their price. They're not really going to budge on the price. They did, you know, and I felt like that was a sign to know that they just wanted to get rid of the house, and I should have took that bait a bit more. This one over here was shitting his pants.
The more you ask, if they reject you, you can just go lower. Now, once you put that offer in and they accept, you can't ask for more. So ask as much as you can, and then when they say no, you slowly decrease the list.
The one thing that I wish I would have changed is probably buy sooner.
Buy sooner, okay. Yeah, we could have bought sooner.
The happiness it gives you into buying a house and owning your own house, it just different vibe. It's just totally different to owning your own home.
But I feel that there's a right time and place for everything, because the perks of buying it now, she's getting her stamp duty paid for.
That's true.
And that's the government scheme that's trying to help and encourage the market to sustain the market. So there's a perk to everything.
Let's just end it with this one. What advice would you give anyone that is wanting to buy a property, or is buying the property, or is going through the process right now?
It is definitely worth it. I mean, there's a lot of people where they feel like, oh, should I just rent because it's cheaper? It's always worth buying buying your own home. The sense of security, the sense of freedom that it gives you is so rewarding, because when I know that when I go home, this house is mine, this belongs to me, I feel that I have the overall decision on what I want to do with the house. Because when you rent anything, you have to think about, oh, when you hang a picture, oh, is that going to damage the property? Will the landlord accept it? If you want to paint those different colour, you have to ask permission rights and all that sort of stuff.
And also, like, when you're renting, you're just throwing money away. You're literally paying off someone else's mortgage when you could probably maybe even pay less what you're paying in rent, and then also be putting that money towards your own mortgage, you know?
Yeah. We're saying that as with a grain of salt. You obviously have to think about the deposit side of things, because that's one thing that's stopping people from buying their own home, because that initial investment is a massive investment. However, it will be worth it. You earn so much more with regard to the increase in value of the house, and then you're also getting that lump sum that you invested initially.
Things that I would advise for anyone that's going through the process at the moment is whatever will be, will be. There were so many times where I just cried and I was like, oh my God, the house fell through, or I'm never gonna find the house. Yeah, there was a house that I really wanted, and then I kind of like changed my mind and stuff, and now I'm so happy that I didn't go for those houses. The house that my offer kept getting rejected on, I just kept thinking about it, I kept looking at photos on it, and now I look at photos and I'm like, it wasn't even that special. I don't know why I was so wrapped up around it. So whatever will be, will be. You know, even if it's a no now, it's not a no forever, and that will just, you know, push you. Maybe it might not be the right time for you right now.
Say if your finances didn't fall through, you can always look for a property that's not as expensive. You need to basically compromise in other areas, like maybe move a bit further out, maybe get a smaller property.
I would say try to save as much as you can. That lunch you had, that coffee you had, you could have probably saved it towards your house and you could have got it sooner. Saving is the hardest part to get onto the property ladder.
I was saying, you guys, earlier, I've been saving for years, and if you're not saving at the moment and you're not really into that mindset, like, do a bit more research into schemes that can help you along the way. Like, so many schemes now that's trying to push people to go onto the property ladder for the first time. Anyways, that is it for this video. The sun is going down, we're all shadowy now. We started off this video so nice and bright, and now it's dark outside. We're using natural lights. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I honestly feel like if I could do it, anyone could do it. Like, I know it probably seems like so far away. As long as you have a goal, start saving now. Like, it's never too late to start saving. Please let us know if you guys enjoyed this video. If there's any other questions you guys have for us, please comment down below.
Make sure to follow me on my social media platform. I'm going to do my own plug here. I upload every Sunday on my YouTube channel, which is Hong XO, and I'm loving the YouTube life.
Make sure you follow my sister on Instagram and YouTube. Follow Quang on Instagram.
It's at QP__. If you want to check out any home stuff, and maybe you might see Twee feature.
I'm always there, you know, guys. Make sure you follow my home account, X2Lee Home. And that's it for this video, guys. We'll see you in our next one.
Peace out,
bye. So if you guys want to...
Shit, I'm picking my nose. Sorry, guys. It's a bit itchy down there.
Why are you getting out of the frame? Pick your nose in the frame, you know.
Me and Twee talk there.
I know, Grant's like... Grant's just an add on this video. Clearly, you can see who the chatterboxes are.
That was long as well.
Can you cook pizza with your sister? Dang, no house question.
How much was the house? $1 million.
Oh my God, I wish. If I had $1 million budget, I would not be living in this house every time. I saw some really nice $1 million houses. Oh my God, we filmed for 55 minutes.
How the hell are you going to cut that down?
There's no blooper though.
I scratched my fanny, okay?